July 4th to all who celebrate, and welcome to Rising. Briahna Joy Gray, it's wonderful to see you after such a lengthy time apart, and while we are physically at two places at once through the magic of television.
Yeah, my July 4th plans include sitting here and delivering the news, and in no way, shape, or form is this pre-taped, and I'm actually sitting by a pool somewhere.
Yes, that's wonderful. Myself as well. Imagine that. Look what we're able to pull off. Well, we do have some stuff to talk about today, so why don't you take it away?
Well, Robby, up first, 7 out of 10 Americans agree with the statement that American democracy is imperiled. That's according to a new USA Today Suffolk University poll taken ahead of Independence Day. Meanwhile, according to new Gallup research, at 39%, the share of U.S. adults who are extremely proud to be American is essentially unchanged from last year's 38% record low. The combined 67% of Americans who are now extremely or very proud, 28%, also aligns with the historically subdued 65% reading 1 year ago. Another 22% of U.S. adults currently say they are moderately proud, while 7% are only a little and 4% not at all. Robby, what do you make of this? Why aren't more Americans proud to be American anymore?
It's the lingering effects of the whole pride discourse going too far, is turning maybe socially conservatives off the whole.
You think that people are looking at the polls?
Pride? What is this? Keep this away from my kids. No, I'm kidding. I did look, however, at the polling questions a little more closely. It's interesting that it hasn't changed much over time. The big spike in being proud of your country, being proud of America, is a 9/11 related spike, and this goes to show the limits or the downsides, I guess, of excessive national pride being a cover for bad policy, because the result of 9/11 was unprecedented blind faith in government institutions and political leaders, who then used that to pursue both foreign policies and civil spying and rights-related policies, Patriot Act, TSA, all of the things we're still surveillance, things we're still dealing with now, were born of an excess of American pride.
Yeah.
So I would say to be patriotic. Love your country, not your government. Love your country because of the rights it affords the citizens, and we need to zealously guard those rights. And
that's been the left critique of jingoism since time immemorial, and so often, remember the Obama years, any critique of that exact issue.
I remember the Obama years?
That jingoism could be a cover for bad policy, military interventionism, and the like, was described as unpatriotic and anti-American by conservatives for a really long time. And we all remember all the stuff about, is Obama wearing a flag pin, and is he sufficiently deferent, and all of those kinds of things. I'm curious, as I reflect on the framing of this question and some people's continued investment in the idea of being proud of America as a nation in an abstract way, as opposed to proud of the things that members of our community have achieved, the things that we have done together, our families, our communities. Is patriotism a form of identity politics? And if so, why do you think it's being framed so differently? I'm proud to be an American. It's owning accomplishments that are not personal to me, that I didn't do, is accepted as a good thing by some folks who might say, I'm proud to be gay, or I'm proud to be black, or I'm proud to be an immigrant, is a negative thing, unfairly, inaccurately taking pride in things that maybe you individually didn't accomplish.
Sure. Being American is an identity. It's an unchosen one, the same way as your race or your orientation or something like that. And those things, I think, you can distinguish from, being proud of being a father or some profession or something, or a charitable person, or all things you have to strive to achieve, rather than just by luck of your birth are in that. I think that's why some people find the identity politics framing toxic, because, well, you didn't choose that, you just were. But that does apply.
Same with
yes,
Americans,
yeah.
Except
you could leave the country, you could exit the country, and a lot of people try to enter the country because they want to consciously associate with America as a place of opportunity or a place that
but for your
values
average
align with you.
born citizen, what do you make of it? Do you think that there's a little bit of a hypocrisy there, a little bit of a distinction without a difference between pride and one's? Because the narrative of America has been that it's a melting pot, that you're supposed to come here and supplant your own cultural identity and racial identity, and for it to be subsumed into an American identity. And there has been, the critique doesn't seem to be actually about identity politics. It's about a choice about which identity you're supposed to actually care about. And the implication has been historically that you're not able to fully appreciate your American identity if you're still holding on to anything else.
I think it's more about appreciating the values that go into the founding of the country that are different from other places. Including, I think, very important to me, free speech. We have a much more robust protection of speech in the United States than anywhere else in the world, even compared to European countries that are similar to us in some ways, in some of our same policies.
And of course, so many people push back and say, well, at the founding of the country, the majority of Americans that are Americans with rights today would have been excluded from those foundational principles. So it's one thing to say all men are created equal. It's another to only grant voting rights and other kinds of substantive rights to property owning white men. What about women? What about Black people who, in the context of the Constitution, were described as 3/5 of a human being? And when we talk about pride in being American, doesn't that require you to have pride in the struggles that diverse communities in America have engaged in conjunction with white abolitionists and the like, to create actual equality in the country as opposed to this rhetorical equality? And isn't that project ongoing? And is there room for an acknowledgement that that project is ongoing at the same time that we're proud of what we have accomplished?
There should be no whitewashing of history. We have to contemplate the sometimes bloodiness of struggling to actually fulfill the stated goals of the founding and its founding documents, and absolutely recognize that those rights were not at all extended by any stretch of the imagination to everyone at the founding, and it took a lot of hardship to get there, but it's still worth celebrating.
Yeah, it's part of why the conversation around Juneteenth, a new federal holiday, the newest federal holiday that we just celebrated at the end of last month, is so interesting because it is a celebration of the end of slavery, and specifically the last slaves to realize that they were free, formerly enslaved persons who realized they were free, who hadn't been told in Galveston, Texas, and commemorating what it means as a nation to have overcome hundreds of years of chattel slavery and an entire economy that was built on the slave trade. So much so that the wealthiest city, the biggest concentration of wealth in America, used to be in Mississippi because of that is where the slave trade was based, and so much of our agriculture was based. And when you look at maps of Black geographic distribution in the United States, and you overlay that map over the map of what the Fertile Belt is, I believe what they called it in the South, it's still the people who were, enslaved and brought to this country to work there that are largely living in those geographic
Wasn't that long ago?
So, yeah, so the
250 years ago is not that long ago.
The legacies are incredible, which is why I think that people have so many complicated feelings about this question of American pride. But there certainly is, I think, a great deal to be proud of when you reflect on how far we've come. And I'm looking forward to see where we go in the future.
Absolutely. Me too. More Rising right after this.